Hi, welcome to Learn Scuba Chicago. Before you move on to your orientation, I'd like to take a moment first to thank you for choosing our organization for your scuba needs. Secondly, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Learn Scuba Chicago. We are the only non-for-profit scuba training facility in the country, possibly in the world. We do a lot of work with military veterans, disabled individuals, kids who are not as fortunate as we've been as we grow up. And we use the proceeds, the revenue from our able-bodied training, which is you folks, as well as the gear sales to support our charitable efforts. You're about to embark on a very cool adventure, and I wish you the best of luck and look forward to seeing you at the pool. All right, guys, it's time for orientation. When you have your first day at the pool, it's very important for you to show up early if at all possible. There's a lot of things for you still to do once we get poolside. The earlier that you show up, the better chance we can get those things completed and get you in the water right away. That aside, let's chat a little bit before we go in the water. If you don't know, my name is Bob. I happen to be the general manager and one of our instructors. Today, more importantly, I'm charged with your good times, well-being, general enjoyment, and safety, of course. The orientation we're going to do is in part safety and in part knowledgeable. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you need to know in order to successfully blow bubbles in a pool. I have with me a number of crew members that come to all the different pool sessions. We have a mixture of instructors and DMCs, and you're probably wondering, what is a DMC? Well, DMC stands for Dive Master Candidate. These are individuals that sat where you are sitting right now, roughly a year ago, and got the scuba itch. And they said, Bob, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. Of course, not nearly as good looking because I'm reasonable in my expectations in life. And I said, great, I've got a program just designed for you. Come over here, volunteer lots of your time, and I will teach you how to work with students in a scuba small business environment. And so that's what these folks do. Now, you may have figured out that the scuba industry is a service industry. In fact, I consider my crew kind of like your underwater Lincoln Park bartenders. They're here to gear you up, fill you full of air, and when you've had enough, cut you off and hopefully send you home safely. And if you feel like you've got really fantastic service today and you want to leave a gratuity behind, that is awesome. We will spread that around all our highly overpaid volunteer staff. Not required, but it's an option for you to contemplate. That bit of awkwardness aside, what can you expect from this point going forward? Well, once you're done with your orientation, regardless of whether you are a certification student or a Discover diver, the path is pretty much the same. Certification students, you have more deck work to do. You're going to learn how to put your gear together. Later today, you'll learn how to take it apart. You're also going to go through some of the more important checklists, sort, star, buddy check, and then you'll begin your first dive. If you're a Discover diver, you're just going to head right on over to the pool. We put your gear together for you. It's time for you to go ahead and get wet. So, regardless of how you end up at the side of the pool, couple things to keep in mind. First of all, I may hand you a weight belt, or one of my staff members may hand you a weight belt. We may not. If you are a Discover diver, may tuck your weights into pockets or places that you don't need to worry about them. But if I give you a weight belt, you need to make sure you put that on nice and snug around your waist. Not over your hips, not all loosey-goosey. Really cool thing about scuba diving, the deeper you go, the skinnier you get. You take me down to about 500 feet, and I've got that teenage ab six-pack going on like I had in my younger years. But even in our much shallower pools, you will become appreciably skinnier, so that if you have that weight belt on loose or over your hips, you'll get to the bottom, find it down around your ankles. If on at all, you'll float to the surface and turn a really cool scuba adventure into a very blasé snorkeling adventure. Also, we're going to hand you a set of fins to wear. My suggestion to you is walk over to the side of the pool, put your weight belt on, sit down, and put on your fins. You're welcome to put your fins on anywhere you want and walk on over to the pool, but understand that if you fall over, we will laugh because you have big feet like a clown and it is funny. All right, once we've got you seated by the side of the pool with your mask sitting next to you, one of us will swim up to you and invite you into the water. We'll get you into your gear, and then we'll have you swim around in the pool, snorkeling style. You'll have your regulator in your mouth, your mask on your face in the water, staring down at the beautiful bottom of the pool. We're going to have you do this for a few minutes. One, that allows us to get everybody else in the water, but two, as you are all sitting here right now, including you at home, I believe you all have your mouths shut, which is great. It makes it easier for me to talk to you right now, but more importantly, it screams out to me that you guys are all nose breathers. Let me introduce myself one more time. My name is Bob, and I happen to be the president of the Mouth Breathing Association of America. And most people, when they hear the term mouth breather, they think a lack of civility, don't know which fork to use, my parents were related by blood, I live in a trailer. These are all true as it pertains to me. But what you will come to discover is mouth breathing is more difficult than you would probably expect. Of the group of you here right now, I suspect a couple of you swimming around on the surface will feel the impulse to pop your head up and say, "Hey Bob, you gave me some crappy gear, it's not giving me enough air." To which I'll say, "Nay, you have mental issues." How could I be so offensive? Well, I know something you don't know. First of all, the gear is designed fail-safe. If it is starting to break down, if it is in need of maintenance, it goes the other direction. It delivers all the air, okay? What's really happening here is that as you sit here right now, you're subconsciously breathing in and out through your nose without a conscious effort at all. But when you start mouth breathing, you will think about it. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. And what that can do is that can leave the mental impression that you're not getting enough air. Trust me and my crappy equipment. Give yourself 10-15 minutes of mouth breathing and you too will become a mouth breather. In fact, there's a fair chance that a couple of you will forget how to nose breathe. Not a problem, we have remedial training at the end of the course. All right, so once we've done that, then we're gonna bring you back over to the edge and my crew members will drop you down one or two at a time. Now this is a great time for me to digress and let you know that we are a very handsy bunch. Whenever we are bringing you down for the first time, whenever we're asking you to perform a skill that we feel involves some anxiety, we're gonna have a hand on you. It might be on your vest, it might be on your arm, you might be holding a hose. If you knock that hand away, expect another one to pop up on the other side like a bad date. You knock that hand away, expect we're gonna take you up to the surface and tell you to knock it off. All right? We're doing this for your safety as well as our own. All right? So we'll bring you down. We'll control your descent the first time you go down. Once we get you to the bottom, we'll ask you to get on your knees, and then we will undo all the gear you worked so hard to get yourself into up on the surface. We're gonna do that because the vest is inflatable. Up on the surface as you're swimming around, you're wearing this tank. It's not designed to be out of the water. I'm told it's rather heavy. In fact, some of you, when you're swimming around the surface, will probably find yourself listing to one side because of the tank. The gear is designed to fit like a glove underwater. It'll be nearly weightless underwater. Once you let all the air out, it's all now loosey-goosey. So when you get underwater, the first thing a scuba diver does is they adjust all of their straps to make it fit good again. We're gonna do that for you the first time. While we're doing that, that's gonna give you a few moments to get over the, I'm breathing underwater, and kind of come back to earth with us. Once we've gotten through that, we're gonna ask you to do the first of 3 skills. Then we'll transition you to different parts of the pool and ask you to do the other 2 skills. If you're a Discover diver, at that point in time, you're gonna get a very cool signal. Pool's open. Fun time has begun. If you're a student, we're gonna tell you, let's go back to the surface and get ready for dive number 2. All right? Now, I have some disappointing news. If you came here today hoping to see Little Nemo, when we threw him in the pool, he instantly died of chlorine poisoning. There will be no Little Nemo in the pool. There will be Little Bob, Little Brett, Little Josh, Little Stephanie, any number of little members of Learn Scuba Chicago. People often ask me, how long will this go on? And I like to assume they're referring to the dive, not my lecture. The response kind of depends. It depends on a number of things. If you're a student, it'll largely depend on how much time we have to get your dives in. We will try to fit in your swim test, your surface skills, at times when we can't get you into a dive towards your certification. If you're a Discover diver, you'll be here until the pool time is up. We'll let you know that during your orientation at the pool, which will be very short compared to this. It could be when you get cold. The pools that we serve vary in temperature. Some are really warm, some are pretty darn cold. If you find yourself getting cold, we always offer shorty wetsuits available for $5, but that can also be a great excuse to call it quits for the day. It also can come to an end if you get to 500 PSI. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. All right, so let's talk about the gear. There's a number of pieces of gear that we're going to utilize. We're going to start out by giving you a mask. Actually, what we'll probably do is, if you're a Discover diver, we'll give you access to our mask bag for you to select a mask. If you're a student and you have not toothpasted your mask before you come here, we're probably going to advise you to use one of ours. If you haven't heard it already, when you buy a new mask, you need to take some toothpaste and rub it on the inside and outside of the mask. It is a soft abrasive. There is a chemical that they coat the glass in before the manufacturing process so it doesn't get scratched when it's put into the outer casing. That coating will cause the mask to become so foggy there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, coincidentally, while some of our pools are warmer than others, none of our pools are 98.6 degrees, something you guys all are. So when you jump in the pool, you're gonna have a foggy mask unless you prepare your mask beforehand. We have an old ancient Chinese secret by which we keep our mask from fogging up. We spit in it. You spit in the mask, you rub it all around real good. If it kind of grosses you out, you can give it a little dip. And we are a full service dive shop. So if it does gross you out to spit in your mask, simply hand it to your closest LFC instructor and they'll be happy to spit in your mask for you. When you are fitting a mask, you don't need to worry about the strap. Okay, the straps are all adjustable. If you are fortunate enough to have a great deal of hair, get that hair out of the way. Hair acts as a conduit for air and for water. Put the mask up to your face and suck in through the nose. Move your head around a bit. If the mask falls off, or if you hear air leaking in, you can expect water will leak in down there. If it's pressing upon the bridge or the sides of your nose, that'll grow real annoying really fast. That's not the mask for you. When it's time to put your mask on, your mask does not have to be super tight. This is not a big deal. If you make your mask too tight, and then after scuba, you go someplace cool for dinner to talk about your fun scuba adventure, you will notice people all around you pointing because you will look like a giant cyclops with a ring around your face. I have discovered it's easier for a new diver to tighten their mask underwater than to try to loosen it, all right? Also keep in mind that the water pressure is gonna push the mask on your face in addition to whatever the strap is doing for you. All right. The next piece of equipment that we're going to offer you will be a fin. Now, unless you've been properly trained on swimming, maybe as a lifeguard or a swim team member, you're likely to put your fins on and immediately start to ride the underwater bicycle. And when it's time to come back up to the surface, you will try to take the underwater staircase up to the surface, and you will not get anywhere. The reason you will not get anywhere is because your fins are going like this, all right? You want your fins to go like this. The way you make your fins work properly is you point those toes, ballerina style, you get those knees nice and straight, and you kick from your hips. Big, sweeping kicks. That is going to propel you through the water. Finally, the last piece of scuba gear is your Scuba Unit. Your Scuba Unit is comprised of 3 separate parts. If you're a certification student, you're gonna learn all about the scuba gear. If you're a Discover diver, we'll take care of putting it together for you. But you should still know what you got either way. The most obvious part of the Scuba Unit is the tank. If you're a Discover diver and you've treated us well, we'll make sure to turn on your air. The next part of your Scuba Unit is the vest. Now this is my vest. And at the shop, we have lots of vests by lots of different manufacturers. And they do things differently with color and placement. And we'll show you on your particular gear where all your specific buttons and bells and whistles are. But there are some things that are the same throughout. First, this is inflatable, all right? I don't care if you are a world-class Olympic swimmer, keep in mind we are strapping lead on you. Because just about everybody here, if you go into the water right now, will float. And the first objective in scuba diving is to get you to sink. So we're gonna strap lead on you. which means if you're up at the surface by design, you're going to be working a little extra hard in order to stay there, unless you inflate your vest. If you blow up your vest, the vest will do the work for you. All of the vests will have a big fat belt with Velcro. Okay, we call this a Cummerbund. This goes low and snug under the belly. It's the anchor. It's what keeps the vest from riding high upon you. Over that will be a buckle. The buckle doesn't need to be as snug. It is designed to take pressure off of the Velcro belt. Also, all of our vests come with adjustable shoulder straps. The idea here, folks, is not to see if you can pull these straps all the way down and force that cummerbund up over your belly. That's not going to help anchor the vest. The idea is if the tank is hanging off your back, to bring it up onto your back. So for some of you that may mean pulling those straps all the way down, but for others it may not require that. And when we adjust your gear the first time you get underwater, we'll show you. The final piece of, there is one more important component to this vest. There's this funny looking hose on the left side. Now this is one of the areas that you'll find a great deal of variation among manufacturers, but the buttons are always placed generally in the same alignment. There will always be a button at the end of this hose. This is the hose that controls inflating and deflating your vest, and that button at the end or on the parallel axis, it's the gray one here on mine. Sometimes it'll be on the end. This is called the dump button. This lets the air out of your vest. I want you to think about something. If I took an empty glass, I flip it upside down, I push it into the water, the air will be trapped in that glass. You have two empty glasses here on your shoulders. If you are sitting here, hitting your dump button like this, staring down at the rest of us having a good time, wondering why you can't come join us, it's because you've got air in your two glasses. Raise this up over your shoulders. Let the air escape from your shoulders. You will be part of the party soon. The next button will always run on the perpendicular axis. On mine, it's this red button here. Some models have it on the outside here or the inside here. It's the inflator button. When you inflate your vest, you can blow it all the way up. There's a safety valve that will keep you from blowing up your vest to the point of overinflation. Finally, the last part of your scuba unit are the hoses. We often refer to this as the octo. Now there's another hose on the left side. There's one we've spoken about already. It's attached to that funny hose on the vest. Also on the left side is going to be your console. Your console may have anywhere from 1 to 3 gauges. Okay, it might have a compass, it might have a depth gauge, but it will most definitely have a pressure gauge. And this is what tells you how much air is left in your tank. When you start out today, you'll have 3,000 pounds. Earlier I talked about 500. 500 is the end game. I found out recently that apparently you need water or you need air underwater. I know my equipment does. We do not do buddy breathing during a Discover dive. Okay, we do not do emergency ascents unless it's part of the training procedure. We will monitor your air. My staff will be in and around the pool, but we're all adults here. We can all take a look at our gauge from time to time and keep an eye on where our air is. If we get down to about 1,000 pounds, starting at 3,000, it's probably a good idea to monitor it more closely going forward. All right? 500, party is over. The last hose or hoses are on the right side. Now you guys are going to see that it's on your gear. You'll have 2 of these regulators. One will be yellow based, one will be black based. You don't need to worry about the yellow based one. If you're a Discover diver, you're only going to use the black one. If you're a student, we're going to teach you about the alternate one at a later point in time. For a discussion right now, we're just going to focus on the black one. Regulator, if you look at it closely, has a couple neat features. First of all, if you've ever played any contact sports, you notice this to be a mouthpiece designed to keep you from getting concussed. No. This is a mouthpiece designed to keep the regulator in your mouth. Now, scuba diving is an adventure sport, and with adventure comes anxiety, and some people take that anxiety and turn it into an early meal of my tabs, and that's okay. I've got a whole bag full of mouthpieces. If that happens to be you, let us know so that we can just throw another mouthpiece on there. We will not be upset. We will not charge you anything for it. We just want to make sure the gear has what it should have for the next person. When you are putting this in your mouth, you want to make sure you put your whole mouth around and you seal your lips around the regulator. On the other side of your regulator will either be a collapsible face or a button like this one. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here. All right, now that we've gone over the gear, let's talk about communication. Scuba divers have developed their own form of sign language that we use underwater to communicate with each other. I'm going to teach you some of it right now. The most important signal, how's it going? This is a question. I'm doing good. This is an answer. How you doing? I'm doing fine. How's it going out there? Great. No! This is either I would like to go up or I really was not paying attention. Usually I can tell by the size of your eyes. If your eyes are this big, you paid absolutely zero attention to me and should go back to square one in orientation. If your eyes are this big, you really would like to go to the surface now. If it's the former, I will probably pull out a soggy roll of Mentos, offer you a fresh mint, and say, hey, how you doing? You'll be like, ah, fine, move along. I'm not okay. What's wrong? I need to know. I'm cold. Swim? Get out, take a hot shower? Go get a wetsuit? I don't know. I'm not okay. What's wrong? My ears. If you've been tuning me out because I'm not to your taste, now's the time to tune me back in. Everything else I've said to this point, important. This part, super important. You're not gonna get hurt in my pool. I assure you that. I'll promise you that. With the exception of your ears. That is on you. I can do nothing for you except tell you what to do. But it is a very real possibility if you ignore me. My ears. Whenever we go down to touch the bottom in a swimming pool, and everybody here has done it at some point in time, they felt the pressure on their ears as they've gone deeper underwater. And that's because water is heavier than air. What we're dealing with here is a muscle, the eardrum. It's not used to having the increased pressure of water. It's used to the bad humor coming out of my mouth. So when water pounds on it, it becomes unhappy. What scuba divers have learned is in order to solve this problem, why don't we add air to the brain side? Equal the pressure on both sides of the eardrum. And the way we do this is quite simple. We're gonna blow out of our nose. But before we do that, we're gonna pinch it off. I'd like you all to try to equalize for me right now. You should do this at home too. When you do this and you blow, you should feel it in both ears. If you don't, try it again. Try it until you feel it in both ears. If you are congested, if you have allergies, there's a fair chance that you're going to have difficulty with this. If you are coming to the pool, one way that you can work on this is equalizing frequently on the way to the pool. It sounds funny, but we're talking about a muscle, and a muscle will get limber with use. So if you equalize on the way here, hopefully you'll be able to equalize when we get you in there. Do not force the issue. I cannot stress this enough. You're gonna feel the pressure changes on your ears, and that's fine. When it gets to discomfort, not fine. In fact, the best practice is to equalize frequently before you feel any discomfort. But if it hurts, stop. Stop. What? Not good. What's wrong? My ears. Stop. Go up a little bit. You don't have to go back to the surface. 6 inches makes a world of difference to your ears. Go back up to where it's comfortable. And then equalize. And then equalize from that point regularly. And if it gets to a point of discomfort, again, stop. Don't wait for me to say, are you okay? You can even skip this. Point to your ears will always draw the same response from any of us. Stop, go up a little bit. Okay? I cannot stress this enough. Other signals that you're gonna see from us. Kneel. When we get you down to the bottom, we want you to land in the kneeling position. 1 knee, 2 knees, don't really care. And ladies, you can put your knees all nice and proper like this, but understand you're going to fall down because water moves. Better approach, get a shoulder length apart, a nice firm base. You can sit down on your knees, you can sit up on your knees. That part is not important. Just get yourself firmly planted on the bottom. You will see us tell you to watch me. I mentioned earlier that you're going to do a number of skills. And if you're a Discover diver, you should right now be screaming bloody murder. But Bob, Discover divers, that's not training, that's not certification, that's just fun to see if I like it. Why do I have to go through class? The reason that we have everybody do the same skills, whether you are a Dive 1 on your certification path or you are a Discover diver, is because scuba diving is an adventure sport. And with adventure comes anxiety. And some people, they respond to anxiety by going, ah, and they go shooting up to the surface, and you can say, aha, that person is anxious. Some people though, smaller percentage, respond to anxiety like this. Now, I am a very handsome man, as you can undoubtedly tell. I have nothing but the most beautiful people that work for us here at Learn Scuba, so it is not uncommon for people to flirt with us while we're underwater. And the way that we can differentiate between flirting and freaking out silently is to ask you to do a couple simple skills. And that's what these are. So I'm gonna go over the skills with you, and you can go back to tuning me out, because if you can play monkey see, monkey do underwater, you can do the skills. When we get to a skill, you'll see me or one of us go, here's the skill we're gonna do, watch me perform. Watch me. I can say this 3 times as they teach us to do, but I assure you, a number of you, when I go to take my regulator out of my mouth, are gonna try to mirror my actions. I become horribly offended by this. This is my showboat time. If you take your regulator out while I'm trying to demonstrate a skill, I'm gonna turn this into, let's see how long we can hold our breath. And I'm very good at that game. Watch me, I'm gonna show you the skill. If you do a good job, you'll get a handshake, a fist bump, a high five. Or if it was a really, really concerned effort, whoop, whoop. But if you didn't do good, you'll get a no, no, no. And we will use our hands to try to explain to you what you've done wrong. And then we will ask you to do it again. Go over. You can always say, nope, I don't get it. I want to watch you do it again. And we'll be happy to demonstrate the skill for you one more time. Other skills that are other signals that you will probably see: go up, go down, go for a swim. If you hear some unusual banging, none of our pools are haunted. It's one of us tapping on our tank or clapping in order to get your attention. Look around and see who it is. Let's talk about these skills. First skill, regulator clearing. While the regulator is in your mouth, life is good. You are breathing my air. My air has been filtered twice and dehumidified. It's a little bit on the dry side, but other than that, it's much better than anything Mother Earth currently has to offer you. As long as this remains in your mouth, no problem. But as soon as you take this out of your mouth while you're underwater, you're going to have the regulator fill up with water. So you need to get rid of that water, and that's the first skill, regulator clearing. I take the regulator out of my mouth. Number 1 rule of scuba diving is never hold your breath. Always be breathing. Can't breathe right now. I'm underwater. I don't have a regulator, but I can exhale. That's breathing. Bubble, 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 bubble. Put it back in my mouth and blow through it. Bubble, bubble, bubble. That's it. Easy peasy, right? Skill number 2, regulator recovery. In this instance, we're going to mimic that somebody came by and kicked you in the face, because we have a lot of underwater ninjas, and knocked the regulator out of your mouth. Now you gotta go find it. Take the regulator out of my mouth, bubble, 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 because number 1 rule of scuba diving, Always be breathing. You've probably noticed I keep turning my regulator towards the bottom, towards the floor when I take it out of my mouth. I do that because these are sensitive. If I pull it out of my mouth and go the other direction, it'll probably go into free flow. Not a big deal. If you find yours isn't free flow, just go, that'll stop it. Or that'll stop it. That'll stop it. Push the button, that'll stop it. Basically anything short of staring at it will stop it. Okay, but better practice, take it out, point it down. And now we're gonna let it go. Now we gotta go find it. So we're gonna lean way over to the right. Oop, the regulator comes out behind you. We'll swing our arm around. Everybody here has 2 arms, 2 eyes. Use them. There's no cheating in scuba skills, all right? I don't want you to be blindfolded with 1 arm trying to find it. Here it is, I got it. Put it in your mouth, and this time we're gonna use the button to use the air from the tank to blow that water out of the regulator through the one-way valve. Bubble, 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 bubble. That's it. Not very difficult. Final skill that we're going to do, mask clearing, partial mask clearing. Something that you need to understand now. There's always going to be water around your nose. You just have to get used to it. Now, for partial mask clearing, if you are a Discover Dive, we won't ask you to put water in your mask. If you are a student though, you'll start this by putting water just below your eye level. I like to do it by sticking my fingers in here and leaking it in. But you put some water into about this level. Again, only if you are a certification student. Discover Divers, we're just gonna go through the mechanism. You're gonna use the palm of your hand to press the mask against your forehead. You're pressing it against your forehead. You're not pushing it up and off your head. That is not gonna help you see underwater. One good way to keep you from pushing up, put your fingers on your head when you're pressing it. You're gonna take a breath, look down at the bottom, and blow out of your nose as you look up to the surface. I blew out of my nose. You say, who cares? It's because 1 or 2 of you are gonna go, no, 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 use your nose. You, sir, have forgotten how to nose breathe. See the remedial instructor at the end of class. All right, those are the skills. Pretty simple. We're almost done here. Last portion of this orientation is called safety and hygiene. Like I told you before, you're not gonna get hurt in my pool. All of our pool sessions are overstaffed. We have people that are rescue certified. We will have lifeguards there. We will have more people on hand than we really need. If you think you're going to drown in my pool, I'll tell you what it really is, a cheap excuse to try to get someone to give you mouth to mouth. And if you're at a pool session with me, you best position yourself wisely, because if I get to you first, I give tongue. The only real concern we have are your ears, and also coming up too fast. For my Discover Divers especially, but this really plays to everyone, as long as you are breathing, the odds are very low that you'll get hurt in a shallow pool. But here's kind of the setup of what it would take. I don't want to see anybody on the floor of the pool holding something to keep them on the bottom as they inflate their vest completely while holding their breath and trying to launch themselves back onto the pool deck. Very cool YouTube movement, horrible for your lungs. All right, swim up to the surface and then inflate your vest. Finally, we all like to go swimming in a pool, right? And we all have peed in a pool, right? Oh, don't lie to me, you've peed in a pool. There are 2 types of people in this world, people who pee in the pool and people who lie about peeing in the pool. Because face it, nobody wants to get out of the pool. It's cold. Go into the locker room, it's colder. Come back out here. They've lowered the temperature, I swear, right? Who would notice? Little yellow burst all around your midsection unless there's a group of people swimming around with masks on. You are taking a scuba class today. There will be a group of people swimming around with masks on. Sounds like common sense. I had an instructor, I kid you not. He was being graded as an instructor. He's sitting on the bottom of the pool with the class. He has his student. I'm sitting there watching. I see the yellow cloud. I wonder how he will handle this. The students, exit stage left. Ah, she's peeing. Instructor just kind of sits there and quietly fans the water. After the second time he got hit with this, he said, Bob, please tell everybody in orientation, yes, we know you're peeing in the pool. Please don't. Now's a good time to go, get out or hold it. And if you're wearing one of my wetsuits, you best not pee in my wetsuit. All right, typically this would be the end. One more portion the staff has asked me to add at the final stages of this. I've mentioned before, we're a non-for-profit organization. We do work with disabled individuals. We work with military veterans, kids who don't have the same privileges as us. The funds that we raise from teaching able-bodied divers like yourselves and from the sales of gear, they go to fund our charitable efforts. We are a giant volunteer army. And if you decide to stay involved with us and spending money here, that's great. You should feel good about where it's going. It's not going in my pocket. But even if that's not the case, if you have a good time today, if you have a good time during your certification process or your Discover Dive, jump onto Google or Yelp and show us some love. Spread the word. I hope to see you at the pool.